Twitter is easy, and in just 5 minutes I hope to demonstrate exactly how easy, because I believe more health professionals would embrace it if they understood the educational benefits and also just the simplicity of it. Okay, so let's start by logging in. So you can obviously search for it on Google, as I'm doing here, or you can obviously type twitter.co.uk into the address bar at the top. But it should take you through to the Twitter home screen, which looks like this. Now obviously if you've already joined, already signed up, you can just enter your username and your password here and it will take you through. Equally, if you're new to Twitter, if you've never joined, you just need to sign up here. Okay, so let's start by signing in. So Physio London username and password will take us through to our main Twitter homepage. Okay, so if we just have a look at the layout of the page first of all, just look towards the kind of left-hand side here. You'll see this is me, so it's Anne Roebuck at Physio London. You can see that I've sent 1,825 tweets. I'm following 476 people, and I have 563 people following me or following Physiotherapy London. Directly underneath, you'll see here it says compose new tweet. So when you go to write a tweet, this is where you'd compose it. And if I click on that, when my Mac isn't playing up, you'll see that it opens up the box here, and it has 140 here. So it's 140 characters, and you'll see that basically if I start writing anything, those characters basically click down, so you can see when you're running out of Twitter space. So let's get rid of that. Okay, also you can see here it's got an icon for kind of camera and location, so you can also add kind of images, although personally I tend to use something else, but I can maybe talk about that later on. So that's that side of things. And if you look down here, this is your Twitter feed. So basically anyone that I'm following, anything that they tweet will appear here. So I'm following most of these people here. It won't always be the case, because when someone retweets something by someone else, I might not necessarily be following them. But that's basically your Twitter feed. So also then, if we click on my name here, it'll take us through to the Physiotherapy London kind of page. Again, it's just repeating things, so you can see the number of tweets, you see the number of people that I'm following, number of followers, and here it's basically everything that I do will appear on our page here. So you can see that I've written a few tweets this morning. And there's also some other ones here by other people. So these are where I've basically retweeted someone. I will go through this in a second. Okay, so let's just take a look at a tweet. If we take this one here from MIT Tech Review, you'll see that as I roll the cursor over the tweet, several words appear. So you've got 4 words here along to the right, and there's a static word here, kind of expand, that always stays there. If we start with expand, basically, expand just basically tells me a bit more about the history of the tweets. It shows me if anyone's retweeted it, so you can see here that 2 people have retweeted this tweet. Also, if anyone's replied to it, any replies would basically follow on down here. They'd be directly kind of underneath it. So it just tells me a little bit more about it. If I myself wanted to reply to it, I would simply just click on reply. And as you can see, this box opens up. And I could then reply to this tweet. And you'll see that it's basically prefixed by MIT Tech Review, so the username of the person that tweeted it, plus anyone else that was mentioned. So this person here was mentioned. So I could delete them off it, obviously. If I just wanted to reply to MIT Tech Review, I could obviously just delete them, get rid of that. And obviously, therefore, if I do reply to them, what happens to that tweet then is it goes to MIT Tech Review. They definitely get to see it because it goes up the top here. It'll go into their @Connect box, or another way of thinking about your Connect box is basically your inbox. So obviously one of the issues with Twitter is it's a continuous feed. So someone might mention you and you might otherwise not get to see it because you didn't happen to be watching Twitter at that moment. But if you reference them in a tweet, then it will always appear in their @Connect box, so they will get to see it. Also, anything you tweet obviously will always be stored also and be visible on your own page. So that's also worth bearing in mind. Otherwise, those are the only 2 places that this would appear. Unless, one thing you can consider doing too, if you also want to make sure that your followers see what you've just tweeted to MIT, all you need to do is make sure you put some text before the username. A lot of people often just use a full stop. By putting a full stop there, it means that anyone following you will also see what you tweeted to this person. Okay, so that's just basically a bit about replying to a tweet. So let's just get rid of that. Also, here we've got retweets. So if you thought it was kind of pretty interesting, you think that some of your followers might be interested in it, you would simply just click on retweet. If it was something that you thought sounded particularly interesting and it maybe had a link, like this one does here, it has a link to a page, but you don't have time to read it, you'd simply just favourite it. And that way it just makes it a lot easier for you to find later on at the end of the day. Because if you come back up to the top of your page, and if we just go through back to our home page, you'll see here that it's got favourites. So basically, where I favourited something, so something I want to look at later on, it's all here. So it basically makes it much easier for me to come back and look at things that I want to go through again and keep a note of. And so if we just come back to that tweet, just to recap, so we went over expand, just finding out about the history of the tweet, reply if you want to reply to someone, retweet if you want basically just your followers to see something that you think might be of interest to them, favourite, obviously so that you can look at it later on, and more, got to confess, never really use this, but if you want to kind of share it via email, equally you can report a tweet, obviously if you think that it's kind of an abusive tweet or whatever. And there's obviously been a lot of issues in the papers with regards to Twitter and how public it is and the kind of things that are being said on it, unfortunately. Also, if we just go through now to the @Connect, so I mentioned this earlier, this is basically like your own kind of inbox. You can see here basically it's got interactions and mentions. So if I click on the interactions, it'll basically show me kind of anything where Physiotherapy London has been mentioned or any other interactions. So for instance, the top here, it's showing me that these are the latest people that have just started following Physiotherapy London. Also where other people kind of tweeting have mentioned us. So someone here has, so RT is retweet. So rather than them actually clicking retweet, they've actually basically kind of copied it and put RT. It's quite a good way of them exposing themselves and getting me to see them. You might find MT as well, which basically just means modified tweet. So it's basically, rather than an exact retweet, they've maybe kind of changed a little bit of it. So they've modified it. You'll also see, if I come further down here, you can see here that London Bridge Hospital, they retweeted me. So that hence the retweet symbol there. Physio Bob has favourited something that we sent. So we're seeing all the different types of interactions there's been with other people. So it's a nice way of kind of tracking all the activity. It's probably worth also discussing hashtags here. Hashtags used to be, and to a certain extent still are, a serious way of categorising topics. So for instance, if you were running a conference called, say, Orthopaedic Conference 2013, you could suggest the hashtag OrthoConf13. Anyone tweeting about the conference could add this hashtag, making it easier for anyone following on Twitter to see all the tweets regarding the conference, as they can search Twitter for this hashtag via Discover. Discover is up here. So let's take us through Discover. So for instance, if I was just to use a simple hashtag like, let's just simply use the hashtag physio. Here you can see that basically anyone that's written a tweet and ended it with the hashtag physio, it's therefore automatically brought it up here. So it's an easy way to do it. So like I say, if you're running a conference or something like that, it's a great way for people to follow you that haven't maybe been able to attend the conference. Also, you notice to the left-hand side here, where it says London Trends, you'll see these are all the hashtags that are trending. These days you often tend to get kind of quite kind of bizarre ones. People quite use it for kind of humour these days as well. But sometimes can be kind of quite serious, and it is quite a great way of kind of categorising things. I think probably the last thing to talk about is direct messages. Obviously, one of the issues with Twitter is basically just how public it is. And sometimes you might want to interact with someone, but you don't necessarily want everyone else seeing or reading that tweet. So what you can do is if you go here to the right, click on here, Then you can go to direct messages. Also, this is the area too where if you want to kind of change anything in terms of your look and your layout, obviously you just go to settings. This is where you can change your kind of username. You can do all little pictures and designs. You know, you can change your kind of icon, the background. Like you can see, we've got the kind of Running Man background. It's all done here in the kind of settings. But if we go back here, go to direct messages. This is where basically I can do a new message. I'll just type in the username of the person I'm tweeting at, so at whoever, and then type in the message, send the message, and it goes directly to them. No one else can see that, so it's a private message. However, in order to direct message someone, they need to be following you first on Twitter. Right, so now that you've kind of set yourself up, you've hopefully got your username and your logo and things on there, and you now basically want to start kind of following people. Best thing to do obviously is go through to Discover, or you can go in the search box here, and just type in anything that might be relevant to you. So say if you're a foot and ankle consultant, let's just try foot and ankle. Let's see what comes up. Okay, so we have Dr. Foot and Ankle here, so you might want to follow Dr. Tatiana. Moving further down, you've got all sorts of various groups and journals. There's one here that I actually follow called Lower Extremity Review. So you might want to follow those. And all you do is literally just click on follow. And suddenly there'll be someone that you are then following. So anything they tweet will then appear in your news feed. Let's take, if I just put orthopedics. Right, here we go, it's probably a better example. So there's all these are ones that I'm kind of already following, but it will bring up anything that might be relevant in terms of orthopedics. So here we've got obviously the British Orthopedic Association, General Bone and Joint Surgery. So just basically that's probably the best way to get started. And once you are following people, what you'll tend to find is, so if you look at the left-hand side here, it's suggestions of who to follow. And you'll see this too if you go back to your home page. This is basically kind of permanently here, the who to follow. It'll suggest things that are very much linked to the people you're already following. So that's a great way of kind of picking up new people to follow. Right, so now that we've covered most of the practical aspects of Twitter, what's the point of it? How will it benefit you and your practice? Well, I personally use Twitter for two reasons. One is to stay up to date with all the latest news and research relating to physiotherapy and healthcare in general. And two is to promote Physiotherapy London, whether that be to orthopaedic consultants, personal trainers, journalists, other physios, or basically just anyone on Twitter interested in physiotherapy for whatever reason. The best way to view Twitter is as a newspaper, magazine, or journal for which you get to choose the journalists. You get to choose who contributes to your daily news feed. Equally, you have the opportunity to establish yourself as someone others would like to contribute to their own newsfeed. So I'm sure a lot of us with practice in London would obviously like to be able to advertise in something like the London Metro, but obviously it's hugely expensive. Twitter, however, is free. So if we take the example of, say, someone like Boris Johnson, so let's take the mayor, and as you can see, I'm already following him. So, for instance, if Boris happened to have a knee problem and came in to see you as a physio or an orthopaedic consultant for surgery, and he was delighted with your service, it's very possible that he might tweet about it, or he may be gently encouraged to do so. And if he were to tweet about it, 786,344 people would potentially get to hear how amazing you as a practitioner were, or how great your practice was. And presumably, obviously, if people are following Boris, there's a good chance that they're living or working in London. Now, that's huge free publicity that you could obviously be capitalising on, because you could obviously therefore also be retweeting it to your followers.